Hey, Prime members! Have you heard? You can listen to your favorite podcasts ad-free? Good news! With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. To start listening, download the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free-podcast. That's amazon.com/ad-free-podcast to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
The holidays are all about sharing with family. Meals, couches, stories, Grandma's secret pecan pie recipe. And now you can also share a cart with Instacart Family Carts. Everyone can add what they want to one group cart from wherever they are. So you don't have to go from room to room to find out who wants cranberry sauce, or whether you should get mini marshmallows for the yams, or collecting votes for sugar cookies versus shortbread. Just share a cart, and then share the meals and the moments. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy free delivery on your first 3 orders. Service fees and terms apply.
Hello, welcome. Let's chat. It's hard. You want to talk? I know, that's disappointing. Sit back. Let's work this out. How's it going? What are we doing here? Where are you going? Hey there. Wow. It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it. Let's think about this. Strange. I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard. Trauma bonded.
When you hear the term poorly dressed women, what do you picture?
You?
I walked right into that one.
Yeah.
Me and my
You
robe.
in your giant robe with the hood.
Clearly, no one's left the house this week. You know what I found interesting about him describing them as poorly dressed women?
Like he was traumatized by that.
When he listed the things that trigger him, things I'm afraid of: guns,
Guns, yeah, definitely I'm afraid of guns.
poorly dressed women,
Yeah, that's the second thing I'm afraid of.
nylons.
Mm-hmm.
I think bars was in there too.
Yep.
No, I found it noteworthy because when I was mugged at gunpoint, do you recall how I described the young men who robbed me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were dressed really well, or they were nicely dressed. And I remember that the cop, what a total fucking asshole. He's like, "What, like wearing like tuxes?" Because it is, pretty open-ended.
It's very unclear.
It's interesting how you're in the midst of or a victim of a crime and you're asked a question, what comes out of you? The first thing. Yeah, a couple of poorly dressed women.
What's poorly dressed?
I imagine they're like in sweatpants and like a ratty t-shirt. Hair's probably matted. I talked to Tom about this. We tried to delve into that more deeply. I said, what do you think they do all day if you had to imagine them out in the world? He's like, they're probably on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Not sure what that means, but I think it's something like, how you are when you're on a bender.
I feel like I wear this exact same thing when I'm a bender or when I've been working.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing the same thing I always wear. I have like 5 of these exact same sweatshirts, 5 of these exact same shirts, and these same exact jeans.
Your Costco track pants, tech pants. What are they called?
Track pants.
Tech
No,
pants.
I've got jeans on.
I work in tech, and I wear pants. I only work in my tech pants.
I'm wearing jeans though, but yeah, I do have tech pants.
Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg, and I'm here with Therese Garcia.
Hello.
And today we're discussing episode 340 of the podcast. This is actually happening. What if you kept knocking at death's door? A brief. A Minnesotan man is raised around alcohol and fighting. His parents divorce when he's young. Mom gets sober and dad goes to the Peace Corps. Tom laments his father's lack of fight for his children. Tom likes to party and fancies himself a rebel. He finds himself pregnant at 18, and that relationship doesn't last long. Tom does keep a regular schedule of visitation with his daughter, but then leaves her when his new love tells him to shove her off, and the separation compounds when a new man wishes to adopt her. Tom makes a new family life with his new wife and 2 sons. One night he's closing up a bar he works at as a hobby, and two poorly dressed women talk their way inside and proceed to hogtie him, beat him, and rob him. He goes to therapy but still has PTSD. He copes with his trauma by drinking, leading up to a boat outing 3 years later where he's in a terrible accident and he shouldn't have survived. His whole identity is thrown out the door and he's faced with a lot of loss and change. He meets his current wife in physical therapy, and though he has a TBI, he tries to move forward and doesn't sweat the small stuff. Full disclosure, I'm the showrunner for This Is Actually Happening, and T knows nothing about anything. She comes in fresh, and this show, Trauma/Bonded, is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode, digest it, and reflect on it with empathy and also a bit of levity. That's Trauma Bonded. T, what stuck out to you is the heart of Tom's story.
We haven't had you go first in a long time. Let's have you go first.
Okay. I think a lot of people would agree with me on this one.
Well, let's see.
His story is all about undoing a pattern left to him by his own father
Mm-hmm.
and making amends with his daughter. I mean, he still can, he knows he can, and he wants it very badly. And they're both still alive. He has a lot of resentment for his dead father, and he has a lot of pain and carries a lot of pain and anger about his perceived rejection of his father. His daughter probably feels similarly about him, but he still has this chance to rectify it.
Mm-hmm.
If that ain't the point of the story, I'm not sure what is. And that's not an indictment on him. Like, he recognizes that's what he needs to do. But I hope hearing this story edited down into something that is palatable to him, that he hears that clearly too. And I know that he is making inroads with her, but she also has anger and pain around the way she grew up and his lack of involvement in her life. So, but that's what it has to be about, right? The healing of that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Like he has a chance to heal that relationship, but he does recognize that.
Yeah. It'd just be a goddamn shame if one of them passed before that actually happened.
Yeah. I think my heart actually is related to what you're saying.
Oh.
I went with one word here on this one.
Mm-hmm.
That word is mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has some opportunities there to take a look at himself. Like your heart, he sees himself through his father,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty profound. His father not fighting for them, right, for custody, as he didn't for his own daughter. He can see that, he's both angry at his father, but he also feels sympathy for him because of his own experience with his own daughter, right?
He can see how he can see how it could happen. How
Exactly.
that relationship is fragile, and if it's not tended to, it can fall apart really quickly.
Exactly, right? There's the instance when he literally looks at himself in the mirror after the boating accident and he realizes he wouldn't look like himself for the rest of his life, which is pretty intense. And then finally, looking at himself, examining his life, right, and seeing the relationship with both the robbery and the accident, how it was alcohol related,
Mm-hmm.
right, and trying to stop that pattern by, sobering up.
Good. Yeah, and he calls himself a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he does see that.
It's hard.
He sees that for what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is difficult. You can see something so clearly about yourself,
Oh, man.
and you don't know how to even begin to fix it or amend it. And especially if another party's involved, like, how do you get them to trust you and believe in you again?
Right. I feel like it's so much easier when you just can't see it. When you can't see yourself,
This
right?
whole ignorance is bliss thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just been feeling depressed, and it could be a number of things, but I said to Scott, I said, I know that it's probably because of drinking and doom scrolling, and I need to stop. I need to, reduce or whatever. And he's like, wow, I'm really impressed that you can see where you're falling short or whatever he said. Like, you can see these things clearly. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's not my problem. It's the active part of, changing things. That's the hard part. Because it's like, I shouldn't be doom scrolling and then I just look back to my phone. How do you stop that? Especially when you see this cabinet that's being built before our very eyes.
Mm.
It's just a big panel of criminals. Just idiots. This is like idiocracy, man. Oh, also, Scott told me that over the next 4 years, I can't complain about every little thing.
What's that mean? Because there's just gonna be so much to complain about now?
Like, every little thing that our president does.
Because there's gonna be so much to complain about?
Yeah, I can only be mad about big stuff.
Like, is there gonna be a scale? Yeah, like, if it's, like, 5 plus, then you can say something. But if it's just, like, a little thing, you can't say
What he
anything?
doesn't realize is I'm like an earthquake. I gotta be letting off these
Rumble.
little
Yeah, you
bitty
know, yeah,
earthquakes.
like, little steam, tiny, or it's gonna be
You don't want the big one.
a
Yeah.
giant. Yeah.
So Tom grew up in Minnesota. He's raised with morals, but alcohol and fighting.
Good parents, good morals, alcohol and fighting as well. All of those things. Have to peel them apart.
Yeah.
So, good parents, good morals, and then, like, physical fighting.
Great example for your kids. And he says it himself, they were always prepared for a drunken mess, and that's really scary when you're a kid. God, the unpredictability, well, except it is predictable in that shit's going down,
Mm.
it's gonna be a mess, but you don't know how severe it's gonna be, you just know it's 2 adults out of their ever-loving minds. I'm glad that we're happy drunks for the most part.
Yeah.
If I fought with Scott every time we drank, like, what's the point?
I know, it sounds
It
terrible.
sounds terrible. People do that, it's a generational thing too.
Oh, I know. I knew some parents, friends' parents that just really literally did that every single night
Got drunk and fought.
or cried. It was weird.
It's upsetting to be around so much violence and to see a couple that's supposed to be in love just to be so awful to each other.
Why is this happening?
And of course, he ends up a drinker, and it sounds like he wasn't paid attention to a lot, and he was sort of rebelling against all the adults in his life. His parents are divorced. His mom, she gets sober, and his dad goes to the Peace Corps. Do the Peace Corps even exist anymore? The toughest job you'll ever love. Is that the Peace Corps or is that the Navy?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we need a research alert or something. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't exist anymore, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know anything. All I know is that I was like, I guess they drink a lot in the Peace Corps. I don't understand what's going on.
Like, did he say Peace Corps and really he was just on a bender in Thailand for 4 years?
Yeah, I don't get it. Costa Rica.
But there's this nagging feeling that Tom has of why isn't my dad trying to see me? Why isn't he trying to hang out with me?
Yeah.
Little did he know that it'd be this thing that he carried with him for the rest of his life. Tom's 18, he gets a girl pregnant, that grows him up fast, and they break up, but he fights for custody of his daughter. It sounds like he was a dutiful co-parent for 2 years, and then he meets some.
But only saw her every other weekend.
I don't know how people live like that,
I mean, yeah,
but people do it, T.
that sounds terrible.
You like your kids, though.
Like a lot. I'm like obsessed with them.
Well, I don't know if everyone's like that. So he has a second relationship, significant, who becomes his new wife. She doesn't want him to connect with his daughter. Kind of bitch is this?
You know, he says she didn't want kids, but later on she gets some
Yeah.
kids. She wants
Yeah.
them.
Boy mom. Hashtag boy
Okay.
mom. Tom explains it in 2 parts. He backs off from his daughter because of this new girlfriend/wife of his, and then it gets compounded more when the daughter's mom finds a new man that wants to adopt her. So I imagine that entails him signing
Yeah.
over his custodial rights so that, I mean, there's a ton of hurt. There's a ton of hurt right there. How difficult is this for all parties involved? And he talks about how he still feels very ashamed. I couldn't imagine being partnered with someone that wanted to deny this whole, like, other part of me. And maybe I'm sure it's a different feeling from, a father to a daughter. I mean, I don't know. I just can't imagine saying, "Yes, you're my partner, I should be with you. You encouraged me to give up my daughter. Let's get married."
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like he's got trouble picking up ladies. I will say this, well, he did end up divorcing that one. right?
Yeah.
They had a longer marriage, but that ended eventually, and I'm sure whatever it was in her that made him deny his daughter, those are the same kind of qualities that probably kept coming out of her, and, like, you could see how they would get a divorce. But I will say this about his current wife, Pamela, she encourages him to reconcile with his daughter.
Oh.
So that's a good partner to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a lot of information right there to drop. You can understand why he would feel ashamed. You know, his dad comes back in the picture and Tom asks him, Why didn't you fight for us?" And he recognizes that he's a hypocrite in this moment. He feels both anger and sympathy toward his father, and then his father dies,
Mm-hmm.
and Tom lists the ways that he's evil. He thinks of him as an evil man. You know, family's tough like this because I feel like you probably know family. You probably know them the longest, so you probably know the most about them. And it is possible I had similar feelings about my own father when he was alive. Like, of course, I loved him. He was a wonderful dad, but because of external influences on him, he had parts of him that I hated. It is possible to hold these conflicting emotions in your heart about someone at the same time.
The whole theme, again, that keeps coming forward for us is that whole forgiveness thing.
Mhm.
He forgives him, right? And he says, he was sorry for what he'd done.
Tom still carries a lot of resentment and pain about his father.
Yeah. But he forgives him.
I mean, he still wants to talk to him. I talk to mine. It's usually right before a job, and I'm like, "Dad, just let me be nice like you're nice," 'cause he was always so nice to people. So we get to the 30s, life is good. He's working at the bar, part-time as a hobby. I guess that's what drinkers do as a hobby, work at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And one night, 2 poorly dressed women show up.
That's when you know. If we walked in, scare the shit out of this guy. When you interviewed him, did you at least, dress up or something?
I don't show myself.
Okay.
I don't wanna scare them. They give some thing, like there's cars stuck. They sound like total nightmares, the hemming and the hawing,
The whole thing.
probably like this herding cats. And he probably figured, "It's 2 chicks, I can handle them."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that is something that's kind of missing in the episode, and I wish I would have thought about this earlier on, because I did get to do the follow-up interview with him. Tom's like this guy from Minnesota, he fancies himself like man's man, does man shit. He doesn't even mention any shame around this idea that, he was sort of overpowered or lost control of the situation to 2 women,
Like he would be ashamed to be overpowered by 2 women?
that he would say something about it. Maybe not.
I mean, the gun thing.
Well, obviously, yeah. Yeah.
The 2-gun
I
thing.
mean, bitches be crazy. I wouldn't fuck with 2 poorly dressed women,
For sure.
but I'm a woman too. I wonder if he had other feelings about that.
I mean, if it was 2 men,
Yeah,
I wonder if you wouldn't have opened the door at that point.
probably not.
Yeah.
Women present as
Not as intimidating.
yeah. Yeah, but they sound like nightmares, the hemming and the hawing and
More annoying than dangerous.
yeah, ugh, so annoying. "Oh, can we use the restroom?" And then just being in there forever. These bitches. The unpredictability of it all, I think, is what's so frightening.
Yeah, it's just chaos.
Yeah, they don't have a plan.
I didn't yeah, they didn't know what they were doing, it felt like.
The scariest people on the planet are poorly dressed women with guns who have no plans. Yeah,
Who are on drugs too, you're just like,
and they ain't got a plan. They ain't got a thought in their head about what they're gonna do next. They just want chicken fingers and booze. Throw them in the back of the truck. Let's go.
yeah, they want frozen food. What is that?
So he goes to push him out. They pull guns and they basically hog tie him, which is just so freaking, well, 1, uncomfortable, but 2, just so humiliating. Like, it's just extra mean, isn't it?
Well, it's a good way to tie someone up so that they're not gonna
Escape.
yeah, yeah.
He blames himself. He's laying there tied up by nylons, thinking it's him to blame. They're crazy. They're unpredictable. They beat him. And they're doing terrible things to him. I mean, this sounds really painful, like jumping on his back, kicking him in the ribs, pop his shoulders out. Like, what the
What is
fuck?
that? Why are they doing
These
that?
evil bitches.
What, like, just what makes you think of doing something like that?
It's probably been done to them.
Pop your shoulders out?
Well, everyone knows about popping your shoulders out because of Lethal Weapon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You've seen the movie Lethal Weapon.
I guess, like, a long time ago.
There's this whole thing, like, the main guy, Mel Gibson,
Mel Gibson
he
and
escapes, like, and he's, like, tied up. I feel like he's underwater or something. I don't really remember. And the way that he can escape stuff like that is he can
oh, yeah, oh, his,
pop out his arm.
what's it called?
Straitjacket?
Straight Jacket, yeah. Was that from Lethal
Now
Weapon?
I feel like I'm mixing a bunch of things together. Like, now I'm like, am I thinking of Harry Houdini?
No, yeah, it's from, yeah, now I remember that. But that's what
Yeah, so anyways, he basically, like, pops his own shoulder out to be able to escape situations, and then he, like, has to pop it back in. It's this big, like it hurts.
and that's how he gets out of it, right?
Yeah, and I always made note of it because I always I have to pop my own knee
Yeah,
back in. We know how
yeah,
that goes.
yeah.
Yeah, so these bitches are evil, and they're unruly, they are violent, and they don't have a plan. It sounds terrifying. He's tied up for 5 hours, he's beaten for 3, and who does he talk to?
His dad.
When he thinks he just is at a point of surrender, he talks to his dad. Dang it, man. He doesn't see how important having your dad is in your life for himself. I mean, he must see it. I think there's this element too of because his dad was so withholding of him his whole life, Tom has sort of filled in the cracks of who he always wanted his dad to be and probably doesn't deserve the credit for it, but because he's dead, now you can sort of make him into a person that you always wanted him to be.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad. The police come, and he doesn't get to go home and go to sleep. He's gotta go to the hospital with these bitches and back to the station. I don't like the way they treated him. They almost treated him like he was part and parcel to this little shenanigan, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's weird too because they knew him.
Yeah. So Tom smartly goes directly to a doctor for therapy and EMDR, and he mentions that he does have PTSD and he's afraid of guns, poorly dressed women, nylons, and bars. He has nightmares, and to cope, he's doing a lot of drinking and boating. And I have a question for you, and I don't know if you know
Hmm.
anything.
Oh, I don't, but okay, let's try it.
Is it legal just to be on your boat just drinking?
With driving, you shouldn't be drinking with cars, right?
Right.
Maybe if you're driving the boat, you shouldn't be drinking?
I should think not. Like, it's different than in an auto, you can't have, like, anyone drinking or open containers, but it feels, like, way different for a boat, but it does also feel like people tend to drink on boats, yeah.
But everyone's always drinking in boats.
So they bring Jell-O shots,
They're drinking a lot. They're drinking a lot. I don't know the legality.
and it's at night, or do boats have, headlights like a car?
I mean, not only at night, but they've been drinking all day.
All day, and in the sun,
And then it was like cocktails at night.
a lot of mixing.
It's like the all day, all night, everyone's like, "Okay, we're gonna leave at dinner." And then they're like, "Oh, let's meet for cocktails on the lake at 10 p.m. now." It's like, "Oh my god, this is going on for a long time."
And it's at night.
So it's dark. And they're in it sounds like a small boat.
I'd imagine it's probably just like a speedboat, like, probably seats maybe 6, 8 people,
Yeah, that's what I was imagining too.
and they get run over by this huge ass boat, and it was never really established in the episode, like, was it his fault? We don't really know.
I feel like it wouldn't be your fault at that point.
Well, it's like, did he violate, like, when you're going in and out of a docking area, right? There are rules that you're supposed to follow. Like, for instance, you're supposed to like, no wake. They don't want you to send wakes over like waves over the moored boats. So you're supposed to like slow down so you're not causing a wake. And there's probably some sort of like entry exit formula. Like I don't know if it's like in the road where if you're on the right lane or left lane ish.
But shouldn't you be aware of other boats? And if you've got lights,
Yeah, but I mean, does he have lights?
no, I mean, the other boat had lights.
Probably, but I don't know.
So,
It sounds like that boat was going really fast as well. Maybe it was a situation where they were like entering the docking area and that boat was leaving and just sped up too soon I don't know. We never get the answers on that. So we'll
yeah.
just speculate. It sounds fucking horrible.
Yeah, this gets really graphic.
It sounds like they both should have died.
I really thought his wife died at
Yeah.
that point.
He dies a bunch.
Yeah, he dies a lot.
His face is busted into 31 pieces.
That's a lot of pieces.
He's unrecognizable. His mother had to identify him by his tattoo. His face is rebuilt in an 11-hour surgery from them looking at the face of his brother.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just amazing.
Are we gonna see pictures?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you can go to
Oh,
Actually Happening Instagram. You can see pictures of him and how he looks today, and I think he looks great. You can't even tell.
well, he could probably tell.
Yeah.
Does he look like himself?
He doesn't have a lot of pictures of himself from
From
Mhm.
before?
He has none of his childhood.
Mm.
So the end result of this all, in Tom's estimation, is that he did this to himself. He's fucked.
Hmm.
His body, he's partial paralysis and pain and a traumatic brain injury. He's out of work for 2 years. He's lost his home. He loses his marriage. He has to give up drinking. Like, it's a lot. And when you think about it in the measured terms of like, it was just for one day of fun. Doesn't seem worth it.
Doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty severe injuries. It's a miracle that he made it through. It's a miracle that he could speak intelligently to it. You know, he has a traumatic brain injury and it shows up a little bit for him when he's telling the story, but the fact that he can recount anything is just a miracle.
Who really needs to do word searches, really? I mean, it's not really even
Yeah, stupid. Yeah, no one needs them.
big deal. Yeah. I'm pretty good at them. Pretty good at a word search, but it's not.
I always tell people that about you.
Do you?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to brag, but
I let him know.
if you could, just in case. I mean,
I just write
new job.
a whole blog about it, but
It's in my, it's on my resume, just in case. I don't want to.
so he goes to rehab for his neck and his face, and that's where he meets his current wife, who's a nurse.
And she encourages him to reconnect with his daughter.
Yes, yes. But it sounds like he still carries a lot of guilt and resentment, not only just for himself, but I think a lot for his father as well. We're rooting for you, Tom. And he's a lovely, lovely man. And I really do hope that he can reestablish like a good relationship with his daughter. Like I said, they're in touch, but it's not the relationship he wants it to be yet. But he's recognizing that he has to wait for her to be ready. There's still time. And they're both still alive. So make it happen. Make it happen, Captain.
He only has one life left, right?
If he's a cat.
If he's a cat,
Well, if he's not a cat.
he's got to be careful. Just in case. I don't know if he's a cat or not. But
What do you think he meant when he was saying his toes curled around
the wheel,
the wheel?
and then his head went in the water.
Like he was being thrown out of the boat from the momentum and his feet just hooked on to the
Like he was trying not to go in the water.
Yeah.
He was trying to stay up in
kind
the
of amazing.
boat.
Ugh, I can't even imagine what his head looked like coming out of the water.
Oh my God, it was so graphic. I had to write it down. Wife's head cracked like a coconut. When I heard that, I was like, oh, she did.
Yeah.
But she wasn't. I was like, oh,
Let's put it back together. They have amazing healthcare in Minnesota.
that's great. Good for them.
Thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show where they keep podcasts. Please rate and review us. And thank you to Tom for sharing their story and giving us the opportunity to talk about it. And thanks to the This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit, Missildine, and Andrew Waits, and the maker of our music and website, Nathaniel Chamboli. And thanks to Cathy Sites for editing this episode, and Katie Capel for building those Instagram posts. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and visit us at the Gmails and the Instagrams. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thanks for spending time with us today. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly.